Welcome to episode 3 of my library challenge video series. So my library challenge series is me just checking out books from my library with a certain prompt in mind and just support my local library, which I have been loving doing this year. And we've had our ups and downs the past 8 months. Things have been happening. There's been a lot of drama. In episode 1, I made an arch nemesis in Florence who brought a book back late when I really wanted that book, bitch. And then in episode 2, I ended up having to move house, which also meant that I had to move library. And now in episode 3, well, it is currently September and I have managed to finish my August pick well within time, and it was due back to the library on September 2nd. Today is September 24th. Surprise! It's me. I'm Florence. Sometimes you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. So yeah, technically I'm 3 weeks late bringing this back. I will say I did renew my loan. I promise, I renewed my loan. So I actually don't need to bring this back until October 21st now. But still, I was like up in arms in the first episode about like, how can people bring books back late? Like, that's terrible. Like, how could you do something like that? And then look at me. Look at me 3 weeks late bringing this back. There's no excuse. Absolutely no excuse. So hi, I'm Florence. Now the second dramatic thing that's happening is that my local library, my new local library, I don't know if you've seen, but I did this massive unhaul earlier this month where I was unhauling books to donate to my local library, and I sent them a list and everything, and they do want to take these books because I do want to improve my local library. I do want to give books that I no longer want that I think will help the library, but I found out that they are going to be closing for renovation soon. So that is like another spanner in the works right there, isn't it? So what am I going to do when it closes? I mean, I can obviously go back to the one that I originally went to for the start of the series, my old local library, but still, that's like an hour on the bus. An hour on the bus. Are you kidding me? I have to travel that far? And I'm going to be gone for 3 weeks at the end of October, start of November. Look, things are happening. Am I stressed? Yes. That's an understatement. One thing I've always told myself is when it comes to reading, don't be stressed. I've always said that. Always. I've said it since day one on this channel, don't be stressed when you're reading, and sometimes that helps. So tomorrow I'm going to be taking this back to the library, finally, and I will also be starting my September challenge. So my September challenge is to read from an author that I've enjoyed before. I have no idea what kind of book I'm fancying right now or what kind of author I feel I want to pull from again. So I'm going to go into the library tomorrow. I'm just going to browse as I always do. It's one of the most fun things for me to do while I'm doing this video series is not knowing what I want when I walk into that library and then I walk out with a book that I didn't expect. It's so fun. So that's going to keep me looking forward to tomorrow. Can't wait. And I want to say what I check out. Could be anything. Absolutely anything. So if you end up enjoying this video, please give it a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Now let's start the third and final episode of the Library Challenge series 2024 edition. My strategy for this prompt is to get to the library and just have a little browse in all of the sections. I don't know what kind of genre I'm fancying or age range. Yeah, if it's an author I've enjoyed before, then it must be somebody who I've enjoyed but I don't feel compelled to buy their books. So I mean, that could probably be a thriller because I don't really buy thrillers that much. They're like a read it once and that's it kind of deal. There's somebody following me. Oh my god, I'm a little bit scared. Yeah, that's why I do this library challenge, so I can get books that I wouldn't actually like buy myself, you know? Now look here, it is currently November 26th and I still haven't finished my September challenge. We went off the rails the last couple of months, let me tell you. I've just been very busy. Okay, I've been very busy doing my vlogs of Halloween. I was away for 3 weeks. I had quite a few videos to edit and do before I could get back to the library challenge. I picked like the easiest one for my September challenge as well. I picked a middle grade because I haven't done a middle grade yet for this challenge and I wanted something that would be quick and easy to read during all of that chaos in September and start of October. I lost track of time. I'm obviously just a terrible person. Aww. Now please excuse me for choosing chaos over cohesiveness. I'm going to be trying to cram in my September, October and November picks in the next like 4 days. Look, we had to finish off the 2024 season of the Library Challenge with a bang. That's exactly what we're doing. So yeah, I was also supposed to return this book by the 16th of October 2024. I've had to renew it 3 times. I had to renew this 3 times so that I wouldn't have to return this late. At least it means that there's nobody waiting for it. So I may be a Florence, but I'm not that Florence. I'm excited to get back to this video series. I've really been missing it. Oh, and another thing as well, my library is undergoing renovations. So I was passing it the other day and I could see scaffolding outside of it. So I'm not 100% sure if it's like closing, but the renovations have started. That was the reason why they couldn't take all of the books that I was unhauling just yet. So I imagine once the renovations are done, I can go back with the books and be like, hey, here's like 100 books for the new look of the library. So fingers crossed they can still take them, but I can't wait to see what it looks like afterwards. So yes, my September challenge is a middle grade. I picked Dancing the Charleston by Jacqueline Wilson. I used to love Jacqueline Wilson when I was a kid. I used to love Tracy Beaker, The Suitcase Kid, The Lottie Project. Oh my god, there is so many more Jacqueline Wilson books I used to love. And I wouldn't really necessarily buy Jacqueline Wilson books now. I have pretty much moved on from Jacqueline Wilson in middle grade, but I don't mind dipping my toes in just to remind myself of the good old days. Oh wow, there's a Jacqueline Wilson collection for only £40. There's so many books in there. No, don't do it. Oh yeah, the Girls in Love series, Dustbin Baby, that was quite upsetting. There was another one that was called Vicky Angel, and it was kind of traumatizing. I think that was like the first time I realized that children and teenagers could die, and that was such a sobering moment. Anyway, Double Act. I remember Double Act, The Illustrated Mum. And I used to love watching the TV show adaptations of these as well. So they would air on like British TV. I used to love the Tracy Beaker series. I would watch that every time I got home from school. There's just so many books of Jacqueline Wilson that I used to love and read. So tick on the September challenge, reading an author who I've enjoyed before. So this one follows Mona. She lives with her aunt in this little cottage just outside of the very glamorous Somerset estate. And they are dressmakers, so they make dresses for the lady of the house. But then the lady of the house passes away in Somerset estate. And so Mona ends up getting propelled into this glamorous life of like parties and what else? Razzle dazzle, it says on the back. She meets new bohemian friends and wonderful trips to London. I don't know why I'm feeling like a little bit of Downton Abbey vibes. And of course there's got to be some kind of drama and hard-hitting thing happen with the Jacqueline Wilson book. So at the end it says, even with these changes, Mona discovers that she cannot dance away from her past. So I'm like, what happened? What happened in the past, girl? So I'm very excited to read this, even though this is 2 months late. 2 months late, but I do have Patreon reading sprints in an hour, so I'm going to try and read all of this during my Patreon reading sprints. And it is a middle grade. There are some pretty cool illustrations, and the writing isn't even really that big, so yeah, it's going to be great. It's going to be great. I'm going to get back on track. You just watch me. Oh, it is so good to be back in the world of Jacqueline Wilson. I am tempted to read more Jacqueline Wilson books. Probably some of the older stuff rather than some of the more newer stuff that she's released. Or because I didn't like fully love Dancing the Charleston. It was good, and it definitely gave me those nostalgic vibes that I was looking for, but it didn't really blow me away. And in fact, I felt a little bit bored by a lot of it. I guess maybe it's just like the genre of it being historical middle grade. And I don't really mind historical fantasy or things with fantasy elements, but this was totally like just historical fiction, drama, whatever you want to call it. Although I would say the drama doesn't really happen until pretty much the very end. There was a little bit of drama in the beginning. It was a little bit morbid and depressing, which you can absolutely find in a lot of Jacqueline Wilson books. It's the good old Jacqueline Wilson touch, isn't it? Make it a little bit dark and depressing, and Bob's your Uncle Fanny's your aunt. It's a Jacqueline Wilson book. And definitely at the start of this, because Mona is orphaned and she is living with her aunt, and you do get images of death, especially when you hear about Lady Somerset as well. So they visit Lady Somerset pretty early on, and she's on her deathbed, and yeah, it's a little bit traumatizing a little bit, you know, just like seeing someone die, although she doesn't die when Mona is there, but you hear about it. And it's just, for middle grade, I love it. I love it. No, it isn't that bad, honestly. I still feel like it would be absolutely appropriate for like the middle grade age range. But I always find it interesting what Jacqueline Wilson writes and how dark it can be sometimes. And yeah, there was definitely a lot of like very dramatic themes explored. There was a twist towards the end as well that really does recontextualize some things. There was something a little bit weird as well. I don't know if I want to say it because I could be a little bit of a spoiler. But let's just say Mona's choice of who to fancy is a little bit questionable by the end of this, I'm just saying. One thing I really love about this one, though, is that there is queer representation, although it isn't really, like, too explicit. It is something that I read into, but it probably could be easily missed if you are a child, or if you are reading this and you're a lot younger and you're not really exposed that much to, like, queer fiction or queer characters in fiction. There's a character in this who I loved, Mr. Benjamin. Oh, and also I have Ash helping me with this review. He just loves me tonight, so clingy. But yeah, there were some good characters characters. There were some that I really didn't like. I didn't like some of Mona's friends. They were quite rude and judgmental. But I also love the exploration of poor versus rich and the way that characters interact with one another depending on their status and what it means to them. I also found the auntie to be such an interesting character as well. Definitely probably the most complex. And I didn't really like her to begin with as well because like she was gaslighting the hell out of Mona. No, don't leave me, don't leave me, don't leave me. I mentioned gaslighting and Ash was like, I want none of that. Don't worry, I'm not going to gaslight you. Don't worry. Don't worry. So I'm not really sure if the characters were done as well as I would expect with the Jacqueline Wilson books, because I think some of the ones that we do end up not liking, aka some of Mona's friends, I don't think it's intentional. I don't think Jacqueline Wilson wants us to not like them, just in the way that they're written and the way that their dialogue comes across as, but I don't like them, personally. But yeah, I don't think Jacqueline Wilson is writing them in a way that we shouldn't really like them. I don't know, it's a bit like, you know, the Princess Diaries movie with Lily, the best friend, and as a kid, like, you don't really say, like, how awful of a best friend she is until you're an adult. So maybe that's just me being an adult reading too much into this. But I did feel like there was such a lack of plot for a lot of this. In fact, Charleston isn't really mentioned that much. I mean, there is definitely decadence, there is definitely parties, there is, like, some glitz and glamour, but it's really not as much. Like, it's really not as much. A lot of it is to do with, like, Mona and her aspirations of, like, education and being better at education and being at school and learning. Like, there's a lot of that, but not really a whole lot of Charleston. I feel like the title's probably a little bit misleading. There's not really a whole lot of excitement to be had here, I don't think. The ending's a little bit rushed. There was quite a bit of repetition sometimes with the structure of the story. I'm going to start using, oh, he is sweet on her from now on, because that's mentioned quite a few times in this, like, oh, he's sweet on her or she's sweet on him, in terms of, like, fancying someone. So I'm going to start saying that from now on, because it was mentioned so many times. I was like, am I sweet on anyone? Like, is anyone sweet for me? You know what I mean? I was starting to feel like I was getting the language a little bit. No, it was good. Just not my type of middle grade story, unfortunately. So yeah, 2.5 stars for this one. You know, it's halfway there. It was average for me. Very average. This is starting to become our meeting spot in the Library Challenge series, isn't it? I'm currently on my way to some personal training this morning. And after that, I'm going to go and pick up my next book, which is for the October challenge. It's currently November 29th. So I know, like, I really fucked up the end of this series. I do apologize. But yeah, I'm going to get my training. I have no idea what I want to get. And the prompt for October is to pick a seasonal book. So I was going to pick something Halloween-y because, you know, it was supposed to be for October. But I'm going to see if I can find something Christmassy today, because I also have a festive movie night later tonight with my patrons. And I kind of just want to have like a chilled, festive filled day. I think that'll be like really cool and it'll make me feel great as well. So I'm going to see what the library has that it'll be Christmassy.
Rocking around the Christmas tree at the Christmas party hop. Mistletoe hung where you can see every couple tries to stop. Rocking around the Christmas tree, let the Christmas spirit ring. Later we'll have some pumpkin pie and we'll do some caroling. You will get a sentimental feeling when you hear voices singing, let's be jolly, deck the halls with boughs of holly.
Okay, if you've seen my Week in the Life video, if you've seen my Romantasy video, you will know exactly when I'm filming this. This is the third video I'm filming for today. So I did manage to go into my library after my personal training and I picked up Sarah Morgan's The Christmas Book Club. I really wanted something festive. There wasn't really like a festive display or anything in the library. The Christmas books were kind of dotted here, there and everywhere and I just kind of gravitated towards this one the most out of everything. I'm so sorry if there's like a glare, but I gravitated towards this one the most. It had book in the title, The Christmas Book Club. Sounds good. I also know of Sarah Morgan. Like, I know that her books are very popular in supermarkets. I see them in supermarkets every Christmas. And so I've never read a Sarah Morgan book in my life. And I feel like checking it out from the library for a seasonal book for October, now November, it's probably like the best thing for me, honestly, because I do really want to feel all of the Christmassy feels. I'm going to be watching the brand new Netflix film tonight. What's it called again? Our Little Secret. I think the new one with Lindsay Lohan and Kristen Chenoweth, watching that tonight at 8 p.m. with my patrons. So I want to just spend the day reading this, have a really festive filled, magical day, just immersing myself in all things Christmas. And I feel like having a book like this, which sounds like a sort of like a chick flick kind of rom-com, Hallmark, Christmas filmy kind of book, is the perfect one. This one follows 3 women, Erica, Claudia and Anna, and they reunite every year for Christmas for a book club. They actually go on vacation when they do this, or they go to Maple Sugar Inn. It's like an annual thing. They love doing it, and yeah, they go there to discuss books and the magic of Christmas, I guess. And I believe there is a 4th character called Hattie who runs the inn, and she sees the 3 friends, you know, hanging out, talking, and I think her life becomes entwined with theirs. Sounds magical, sounds very festive. I don't think I've ever read a rom-com holiday festive book. Actually, no. I remember reading about 5 years ago the Christmas one by Bethylbug. It Won't Be Christmas Without You, I think it was called. But yeah, that was 5 years ago. I don't think I've read a rom-com Christmas book since then. Not that I can recall anyway. So not something I would buy myself, but definitely check out the library, so that's why I picked it. Let's get into October's pick on November 29th.
Rocking around the Christmas tree, have a happy holiday. Everyone dancing merrily in the new old-fashioned way. You will get a sentimental feeling when you hear voices singing, "Let's be jolly," deck the halls with boughs of holly, rocking around the Christmas tree, have a happy holiday.
I think watching that new Netflix film, Our Little Secret, really helped with setting the vibes for the October pick for this Library Challenge, because I felt so festive and I overlooked a lot of the trademarks that you would get in a typical Hallmark Christmas film, even not just Hallmark, but a lot of Christmas films in general. You know, there are a lot of cliches that you will also find in this, but one thing I actually think this kind of sets itself out a little bit differently from others is that there isn't really a whole lot of focus on romance. I mean, it is in there, but it's not like the most pivotal thing about the plot. And I really enjoyed the focus on friendships and even found family. I thought that was really good. There were some darker storylines, but I actually think this is like more heartwarming than dark or anything. We do have like a character who is a widow. We do have a character who is post-breakup of a 10-year relationship. There are definitely a lot of darker things at play here, or like tougher storylines that you may not typically find in other, you know, upbeat Christmas books and Christmas films, because I do think the general focus of this book is more the relationships between these women, what has built them up as characters up to this point, with Christmas and this Christmas Inn as a backdrop. So definitely not all sunshine and rainbows, definitely a lot more emotional. I mean, there is a lot of darker storylines and themes in Christmas films, like Our Little Secret last night, the main character, she doesn't have her mother anymore, and that is a more emotional storyline. So yeah, this isn't like the first time this has ever happened for me, like where I've read a Christmas book or watched a Christmas film and it had something a little bit sadder. Like even for instance as well, last Saturday I watched The Mistletones, one of my favourite Christmas TV movies ever. In that film, the main character has also lost her mother, and that actually seems to be a bit of a recurrent theme the more I think about it. But no, I think the whole point of this book is more the friendships of these women who are a bit older than your typical, maybe like 20-something main characters in other Christmas films and books, especially like Christmas rom-coms or maybe like Christmas chick lit books. Although I haven't really read any Christmas chick lit apart from I think that one by Bethylbug. So again, I'm not an expert on this genre or anything. Take everything I say with a grain of snow, because I don't really know what to expect really going into these stories. I don't really know what's good, what's bad, what's been done to death before. I'm just taking my experience from like more Christmas films than anything else. I will say though, this book drags. It drags. It's nearly 400 pages, and for why? I actually don't know why it's it's this long. I feel like we could have had a bit more of a punchier and more emotional kind of story had we condensed things down and made a more of an emotional punch rather than a slow-mo punch, you know what I mean? Definitely could have been around about 250 pages, I think. There was a lot of fodder that we could have cut out. It does take a while to get going, and because this is contemporary, the storyline is contemporary, it feels for a long time that not really a whole great deal is happening. So it couldn't really hold my attention the entire way through, which is unfortunate because I was finding myself being like, oh, this could be like a really good high 4-star or something like that. You know, it was really what I needed at the time, especially to have like such a festive day yesterday. But I did finish it this morning. I had to finish it this morning. I didn't finish it last night. But it had enough festive fun for me to still really enjoy this. So I'm going to give this one 3 stars. I would love to try and read more from this genre, some more like Christmas rom-coms and Christmas chick lit books as well, just so that I can get a better sense of what to expect and what's good in this genre. But I did get that classic Hallmark Christmas feeling, you know, when you're watching a Christmas Hallmark film. I mean, I'm speaking about me really, but maybe you can relate. But a lot of the times I'm watching a Hallmark Christmas film, and maybe even a Netflix Christmas film, and I'm rolling my eyes the entire time because I'm like, oh my god, all of these cliches, I have a bingo board of everything that happens, and I could probably write this myself. But then by the end of the film, I'm smiling, I'm crying, I'm totally invested, and I love it by the end. Like, it happens all the time. This kind of gave me the same kind of vibes, and so I really want to read more of these. Maybe not like anytime soon though, because I feel like this is the kind of genre that I think could get old pretty quickly for me. So yeah, we're gonna just have the one and move on. Past Gab was very kind to me when coming up with the November prompt, and especially since it is November 30th today, it's the final day of November, and I'm only just starting to get into the November challenge. And even then, I bet you when I finally actually get to read the November book, it'll be December. So not only am I a local villain in becoming the new Florence, I'm also a villain in this video series for being so messy with the ending. Like, am I going to stick the landing? I actually don't know. So I do want to go to my local library again, pick anything that catches my eye. It is going to be a mood selection, so I'm very thankful for that because that can literally mean anything. What am I in the mood for? Something easy, something light. If I saw something Christmassy, maybe I would pick another one up, but it would definitely have to be shorter than this. I don't think I could do another one that's nearly 400 pages. Like, are there any other genres? I'm reading a whole lot of romantasy at the minute, so I don't really fancy anything like fantasy related either. I'm thinking maybe contemporary, and maybe I might steer clear from romance as well. I'm reading a lot of that. Maybe a thriller? Maybe a thriller, actually. I think a thriller could be pretty fun. So we're gonna have to see when I get down there. It's too late to go today. The next time I can go down to the library is December 1st or December 2nd. So I'm already late. I'm already late. I still need to take this back, and I will do that soon, but I actually had a genius idea. So my sister is coming to drop my mum off, but I was asking her, is it okay if we stop by that library I used to go to? You know, the one that's like an hour on the bus? Well, it'll only take about like 20 minutes in the car. So I was like, why don't we go back to the original library that we started off at? And especially for November, which is like, what was it, a mood selection? So I can just go in, whatever I fancy, I can just take it off the shelf. And I miss that library so much. Oh my gosh, I cannot wait to see it again. And I might just start getting an hour bus to get there. At the minute, I'm feeling like that's what I want to do. If it's not busy as well, I might go into the cafe. Because like, they do have like a nice little cafe there. And oh my god, they have self-service and like self-checkout. And oh my god, I miss it. You don't know what you've got till it's gone. It ain't paradise to put up a parking lot, you know what I mean? I probably said that wrong. Anyway, yeah, she's on her way, so I will skedaddle. But let's go back to that library just like one more time in this series. I don't think I'll be able to do it again for the December pick, because if I do get a book there, I can just return it to my local library and they can like ship it back to there. That's absolutely fine to do. But yeah, we could have probably saved this one for the December pick and then ended the video there, but I didn't think ahead. I just had that idea and I was like, you know what, I'm missing so much, let's just go. Let's go, go, go. Being back in that library just rejuvenated my senses for this challenge again. Oh my god, I don't know what it is. I think it was just the atmosphere of it, the fact that I'd missed it, the fact that I really desperately want to go back to it. It just made me realise just how much I love doing this series and how much I want to keep going to the library. And honestly, a good library does that to you, it really does. So I had the best time, just like having a little bit of a browse. I knew as soon as I saw it what I wanted though. So with November being a mood selection, as soon as my eyes fell on it, I was like, yes. And that is Swift and Saddled by Lyla Sage. I have seen this series being read on BookTube. Steph from Stephanie Bookish, Jan from Jen Agaton. They have been reading this series, and other people as well. They're just like the two that came to mind first. And I have been really wanting to read it because of them. So I cannot wait to get into it. I think this is like a second book, but I don't think you have to read the series in order because it's one of those romance series where it's a different two main characters in each one. In this one we follow Ada and we follow Weston. Oh, that name. And this is like straight, which I'm like, but it's cowboy romance, so Ada, I believe, works in interior design, and she has a job to do at this ranch. It's called the Rebel Blue Ranch in Wyoming. And of course, she's gonna meet Weston and fall head over heels in love, is my prediction. I'm actually so excited to dive in. I genuinely really want to read this. It was one of the first books I saw walking through the door, and it was instantly mine. I was like, okay, I've got the book that I want. I love it when I walk into a library and that happens. God, I hope I don't hate it.
Right, okay. Oh.
Oh my god, the wind has been absolutely awful. I was hearing lots of banging coming from next door. You know where my neighbours live who like don't live there anymore because got arrested? Because the wind was like seriously battering their shed outside. So like part of the fence is down. Their shed door has come off completely. And thank God as well, because that banging was starting to drive me up the wall. And yeah, it's just been very windy. And I don't know about anyone else, but my recent obsession with ambience rooms is the ones where it's playing oldies in the next room. At least that's what it makes it sound like. So it's like an animated ambience visual, but there's music coming from the next room and it's like muffled and it sounds like it's coming straight from like the 50s or even like the 40s or something. It makes me feel so nostalgic for a time period I was never part of, because I do love me a good film from the 40s or 50s and it just makes me think of that. And so I was listening to the wind and that random ass ambience while reading all of Swift and Saddled by Lyla Sage. I finished it. I will tell you my rating in a minute. I do need to be absolutely forgiving with romances because I've read so many of them back to back pretty much because I did the romantasy books, and there's so many things that like really annoyed me with those. Now I'm trying to not force that onto this book in particular because I will say this was like a very fun, entertaining time. I just don't want anyone thinking that I'm being a bit of a hypocrite for liking this book when there were recent romances that I wasn't the biggest fan of because of them doing pretty much the same things. So I'll go through like some things that I had a little bit of an issue with, but also like things that I liked. I feel like this is going to happen whenever in every single romance, but there's always going to be that miscommunication. There's always going to be the jump into conclusions and assumptions that's going to create the drama. And this one had like the sin of having one of the worst assumptions that you could ever make, and that's when like the main character Ada, she automatically assumes that just because the guy is talking to a girl that he's in a relationship with her. I'm not the biggest fan of that trope. I'm not the biggest fan of that kind of drama angle, but yeah, it's the whole jumping to conclusions just when a guy talks to a girl, and sometimes vice versa as well. But like specifically for this book, Ada sees Wes talking to this woman and somebody who isn't in a relationship with Wes, but like she just automatically assumes that like I don't like the assumptions and I don't like jumping to conclusions. It's so tedious and boring for me, and like the fact that guys can't just have friends who are girls also like gets under my skin as well when people jump to that conclusion. And again, vice versa, just because a girl is friends with a guy doesn't mean that's just sleeping with him. So I just hate that kind of misunderstanding. Wes is also very considerate, which is very nice, but part of me thinks he's like a little bit too considerate. He comes across as like too much of a nice guy, too much of a sweet guy. Like when Ada assumes that the woman he was talking to was in a relationship with him, he's like, oh, I don't want to be the kind of guy that she thinks I'm just, you know, hooking up with anyone. And I don't know, it's just like some of these thoughts that were going through his head felt a little bit like fan fiction in a way. Like I don't know, it's just like the ideal dream of a man, but at the same time I'm trying to look at romance as a little bit of fantasy. The authors are presenting us characters who may not exist, and I need to like try and be a little less critical of romance books when they have these guys who are just gods when you look at them, and they are just like the most considerate and sweetest people ever, which of course like can't happen in real life, but like sometimes it's just like hard for me to detach myself from that expectation, just being like, oh, it seems like a little bit too far-fetched or whatever. I'm trying my absolute damnedest not to let that affect my enjoyment of romance now. I've definitely been very hard on a lot of romance this year, so I'm trying to be better at that. I'm also not the biggest fan of like when, you know, characters share too much about themselves so quickly and then the other person is like very overprotective so quickly. It just feels a little bit disingenuous for me too. Like it feels like, okay, we're kind of going a little bit too fast. And again, like going back to Wes being a little bit too considerate. No spoilers or anything, like these are just like little character moments. I don't think spoils anything. But yeah, Ada, she was in a marriage beforehand. It wasn't the best marriage. And when she starts talking about that to Wes and like how she wasn't allowed to drive and stuff, it's just very on the nose like how the author wants us to see Ada, because we have Wes literally saying out loud, or like at least in his head, but to us the reader, saying, I just imagined her as a bird in a cage. And I'm just like, a lot of the imagery with Ada kind of trying to move past from her previous marriage was a little bit too obvious. Like there wasn't really any subtlety there. There was like no nuance when it came to her past, and it just felt like we were told so much in those images that we should have in our own brain by like the writing style more so than just like an actual character saying, oh, I imagine her as a bird in a cage. You know what I mean? Like not being told that directly would have really helped. However, this is just under 300 pages. I flew through it. I had the same kind of reaction with like Hallmark Christmas films when I feel like I'm rolling my eyes sometimes, like, oh, that's so cringy. But then by the end of it, I'm absolutely eating it up. And I'm like, okay, like I want people to be happy. I want people to be in a really great romance and feel love for the first time, or, you know, like feel these feelings while having sex for the first time as well. Like it got pretty steamy this one. It got very steamy. And I wasn't annoyed with the steam either. So I've been reading a lot of romantasy back to back, and a lot of those sex scenes were very cringy. So many synonyms for things that just like started to piss me off. But I felt like the steam in this was actually very good. Like I actually didn't find it getting under my skin. It was quite hot, and it didn't really do anything like too remarkable, and that's absolutely great for me. A lot of times it feels like these characters have to do bloody gymnastics in these books that I'm reading with all of the synonyms under the sun for snatch and sausage, that it kind of really takes me out of the scene and it makes it feel a little bit ridiculous. But this actually felt more like the steam was a little bit more real, a little bit more relatable and understandable. So I was like, okay, like I'm actually really liking this, and I do really like the main characters. I like the romance that blossomed between them. I definitely got to understand them a lot more as the book went on. I feel like Ada became like such a beautiful character, and then even Wes, oh my god, Wes was so freaking hot. Like his full name is Weston Ryder, and I'm like, oh my god, stop. Like, and that's kind of when I realized I need to switch my brain off, because when I say he's like doing too much to be like too much of a good guy or whatever, I was like, okay, just shut up, Gavin. Just shut up and let it happen, you know? And then I really did start to feel myself falling for Wes, and there were quite a few aspects of his character that I was really enjoying, you know, like the way that he interacts with his family, the way he interacts with Ada, and yeah, his considerate nature. While it felt a little bit too forceful to begin with, I started to feel like it was a little bit more natural as the book went on. And he's a guy who likes to draw. I mean, I would love for him to draw me like one of his French girls. And I didn't really think I was that into cowboys or anything like that, but damn, like, look, I have two pores and two nostrils, that's all I'm saying. So when I could really feel the steam and I could really get on board with the characters, that's when I started to be like, yeah, this is winning me over. I'm really enjoying my time with this. I wouldn't even say like a bit of a pleasant surprise, because this has been getting such great reviews recently, but this is definitely the step in the right direction for me with romance, because I do think I need to approach it differently in the future and let myself fall in love rather than like trying to protect myself from it, if that makes sense. I'm trying not to be too deep. I feel like maybe this book did a little bit of that for me in the explorations of like loneliness and like the kind of love we think we deserve and etc etc. Yes, they did ring true for me. So like I'm like, okay, if I approach romance differently in the future, would I enjoy it more? If I stop being so defensive, would I enjoy it more? Like, I feel like this is a therapy session in of itself, but I enjoyed it. 4 stars. I'm going to give it 4 stars. I can't in good conscience give it any higher. Like, I wanted to give another 5 star in this video, and who knows, maybe the December read will be a 5 star, But no, I feel like 4-star shows that I really, really enjoyed it. It was a fun time. I would definitely check out more of this series, but not a favourite. Which means the December pick will also be my 350th book read. So today is a Sunday. The library was closed today, so I wouldn't have been able to go down and get another book anyway. So tomorrow I will go to my library and I will go in there with the prompt, what was it again? Get a book that I was supposed to read this year. And I genuinely don't know what that could be, because I don't really know what I was supposed to read this year. And a lot of the books I was supposed to read this year, I already own anyway. So if I try and approach it like books that I've seen other people talk about on BookTube, and the one that I've been interested in for most of the year, or even just like the last few months. I mean, to be fair, like this was kind of something that I wanted to get to because other people were talking about it. But like, say if I made it a book that was a little bit more from earlier in the year rather than recently, then maybe that might still fit the prompt. I'm actually going to struggle with the December prompt, I think. But it will be the 350th book that I read this year, because I'll most likely read it once I've got my hands on it too. Now that I'm actually caught up, that I'm actually going to read the December book in December on time is incredible. So yeah, it needs to be special if it's the 350th book I've read this year. I just have no idea what it's going to be.
As much as the first half did. It's definitely that type of story where the main character has some goals, especially like people to save, things to accomplish. Meanwhile, she's sleeping with somebody or like lusting over somebody, thinking about somebody constantly.
I have just been to the library and I'm on my way back. Do you remember in the second episode when I discovered this trail for the first time and how I couldn't really walk up it without like stopping like millions of times, and I said I would never do it again? Well, I've been coming up and down this bank 4 months now since I did that episode, and I'm getting so much better at going up. I mean, coming down is no problem, but going up it is so easy now. Well, I say so easy, I still struggle sometimes, but like not as much as I did that first time. So I just wanted to share that progress as I'm on my way back home from the library. I did pick a book, and it's actually a library book that I checked out a few months ago, but I never actually read it. I had to take it back unread. It wasn't for this video, it was for a different like slice of life vlog, because I was stumped. I was like, well, what else was I supposed to read this year? I have no idea. So I did pick it. I do have it in my bag, but it is at the bottom of my bag. I went into Morrison's afterwards to get some ingredients, to get some food. Even though I get gusto every week now, there are still ingredients that don't come with it. So I ran out of butter, so I had to get some more butter. I need to get some flour and like pepper, shit like that. So I went down. Oh god, this is where it gets like really bad. It's awful walking up here now because the ground is so muddy and so wet with all the leaves. And like, this is the big part of the bank that does terrify me every time. Even though I'm getting better going up it, it still terrifies me. What was I talking about again? Oh yeah, I needed food. Despite getting gusto, I still needed to get some more food. So I will see you in the house where it's nice and warm, and I will show you what I got. Well, I'll show you what I got from the library. I don't think you really want a shopping haul, do you? Like a food shop haul? It's not really that big, honestly. It was just some little things, little knickknacks. I mean, I don't want to jinx it, but I definitely think I'm going to slip one of these days. The book that I ended up checking out is A Love Song for Ricki Wilde by Tia Williams. This one I did get, I think it was back in March. And it was in my previous library that I checked it out of. But at that time, I just got a little bit too flustered with everything, because I think I also checked out Bride by Allie Hazelwood, and I didn't read that either. So I checked this out, and I never got a chance to read it. So now, for the December prompt, read a book I should have read earlier this year, this is perfect. And this was in the recent Goodreads Choice Awards. It is another like kind of romance. Like, I was feeling like thriller or fantasy, like that's the mood I'm in right now. I've been reading a lot of romance recently, like a lot of romance. The last book I checked out was freaking romance. I just did my Goodreads Choice Awards. That was all romance and fantasy, romantasy, you know? I've got love coming out of every nook and cranny of my body right now. So this one follows someone called Ricki Wilde, and she has like this family that's quite powerful, and she doesn't quite fit in, and so she wants to dictate her own life and start somewhere new. So she leaves behind her wealth and chaotic romantic decisions to realize her dream of opening a flower shop. And there's also the dazzling drama of the Harlem Renaissance still simmering. Ooh. Then one evening in February, I probably should have read this in February. Did I check this out in February? I might have. It was probably like February or March when I checked this out. Ricki encounters a handsome stranger who knocks her world off balance in the most unexpected way. I am so excited. This is going to be another day where I just sit in the house, just read, chill. I didn't have any training today or on Friday because my personal trainer is away with his fiance and kids. So I'm going back to training on Wednesday. I have a lot more free time today to just get reading, get it done. I've got no live shows. I've got like 5 this week. I've got no live shows today. Oh, it's going to be wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. And it's going to be the last book of my 2024 series. Oh my god. And I've never read 7 Days in June either, so this is my first T.L. Williams book. Oh god, I'm just so excited. Maybe this is my romance slash romantasy slash cowboy romance era.
I see the candles come as the year gone by. All thrive for perfection now, and consumption so high. I know it's cold outside, but give me your hand so I can show you what love.
I need to show you all my very first ever stuffing. I just made this. I definitely could have cut the onions a little bit smaller. This is sage and onion stuffing. But yeah, this is the first time I've ever made stuffing. How beautiful. So I just had my chicken and stuffing sarnie with plum chutney. It was lovely. But yeah, this happens every 2 days and I'm sick. Absolutely sick. Like, why? I need to invest in a dishwasher because this is going to take me all of the Wicked soundtrack to get through all of this.
Christmas, I want you so, but I don't need the present. Just wishing for snow and some company by news that I hold close. So Christmas, no need to be perfect, just don't wanna be here alone.
I have just accidentally napped and my neck is killing me. But I was lying with Tobu. It was so lovely, wasn't it, Tobu? Yes, it was. And I've got Ash as well. You know what it is? I don't ever read in my bedroom. I don't ever just like lie in bed and just go for it. I'm always downstairs. I feel like the bedroom is the cat's domain now. Ash and Tobu are in here all day. They love sleeping on the bed all day. So I never really think to come up here, and so I did. I ended up reading the rest of A Love Song for Ricki Wilde while I was in bed, considering I ended up napping as well. And then I had to finish it off after I napped. It's probably a bad thing. I probably shouldn't stay in bed and lie in bed to read because, yeah, accidents happen. I finished my final book for this video, the final book for my 2024 series library challenge, and I liked it. I liked it a lot. I do think I probably enjoyed the first part of this a little bit more than the latter half. I felt like I went in with these like really great, almost historical vibes. I was loving the character connections because Ricki, she ends up meeting this like 96-year-old woman at the very start, and like the conversations that they were having, not even just at the start but like throughout, were just so good and so deep. And I was like, oh, there's like quite a few philosophical things that are coming through here. Then even with Ezra as well, the main love interest, some of the things that they were saying just like rang so true. Like there was something Ezra said about memory and like how everything, like our whole life is just a memory, and like that we kind of continue on. That is something that, you know, spirals me into an existential crisis. I'm like, yeah, has anything actually happened in the past? It was just a memory, like it isn't even real anymore. And I was just like, this book is going to get like a little bit big for me, isn't it? Like some of the themes and the conversations that they have, I thought like they would get like a little bit too big. And I will say like it never got like too weird that I couldn't understand or follow. There were some like little twists and turns, and there was like a little bit more like magic to it than I actually expected. But I did absolutely love this to begin with. I thought it was really good. I really liked Ricki as a character. I loved the fact that she wanted to spread her wings and like leave her family so that she could go off and do her own thing. And you know, her passion, her drive to open a flower shop was so admirable, and just like the connections she makes through that, the kind of like the art gallery kind of vibes to it, and it just made me feel like I was in like New York and stuff. So I really enjoyed like examining those things, and it was like really interesting. There was a very interesting scene up against a piano as well, which I was like, ah. And it's funny as well because I did watch Kayla's video today, the Goodreads video, and she mentioned something about piano. I was like, what the hell is she talking about? And then I read that section in here and I was like, oh, that's what it is, okay. Oh yeah, there was like mention about like love being like an album, you know, when you skip to your favorite song or you listen to the full thing. I feel like there was just so many great conversations had in this that makes my rating like not too low. I also love the fact that we have Ricki, who is an adult, and she finds it hard to make friends as an adult. That was something that the previous main character in Swift and Saddled was also grappling with. It's something that I can also relate to too. There's like so many things that I could relate to with Ricki, even with Ezra as well, in just like seeing them two come together and the love that blossoms between them is great. However, I will say it felt a little bit quick, and like there is like some kind of sense to it, absolutely, but it just felt quite quick while I was reading it. So I felt like a little bit taken back by the speed of that. I like the representation of like the older characters, like specifically the 96-year-old, I forgot her name. Miss Della, you know, like she's the 96-year-old. And there are things that she says and things that she represents that, you know, there were opportunities that she never got a chance to have that the younger generation now get to have. And that passage of time between them, it just like felt like a great look into the past, the present, and even the future too. It was just such a nice one to end on with this series, and just to like feel like I felt, because the writing was so beautiful, like the writing is so good, I felt those emotions, but I don't think it really grabbed me and hooked me all the way through like Swift and Saddle did. So I'm going to give this one a 3.5. I found myself losing more interest as the book went on. I don't know if maybe it's because I've read a whole lot of romance and I probably shouldn't have picked up another romance, but this was the only book that I could see in my library that I thought, oh, you know, that was a book I should have read months ago, because I did check the library. In fact, I remember now, I believe it was in my reading Jan Agaton's worst books video. I think that was when I actually checked this out in my local library, which was at the end of March. It was the end of March, so I'm really glad I managed to get around to it. I don't like taking library books back unread. It has happened a couple of times, and I'm glad I've rectified at least one of them. I've read all the ones in this series, but I have been trying to check things out of the library outside of this series as well. I mean, the series has been great. Like, I'm going to talk about the series as a whole, actually, and like use my library in a second. But yeah, anyway, yeah, sorry. This was like very good. I did like it. I was hoping it would be a new favorite romance, but unfortunately, just it kind of isn't, which is fine. Honestly, it's fine. So I did, at the very end of December 2023, wanted to embark on this adventure, go into my library once a month, at least minimum, with a prompt in mind, some kind of reading challenge in mind, so that I would actively go to my library and not forget about going to the library as well. Like, it's fair enough, you know, me for a New Year's resolution, oh, I'm gonna go to the library more, and then 2 months later I never go back, you know what I mean? This has definitely helped motivate me and get me into my local libraries, since there were 2 in this series. And it was actually so nice to just read a great range of books. I feel like I read something from every genre in this video. I think I read something from every genre in every age range in this series this year, I think. Oh, I definitely didn't do non-fiction. That's something I might try and do another year. But I definitely did a middle grade, I definitely did a young adult, and I definitely did an adult. So I spanned age range. Did I do a young adult? Oh my god, why don't I have like the list on me right now? This has only made me want to use my library more. It has made me appreciate my library more. It has made me want to go back to my old library and show the appreciation I should have given it when I lived next to it for 3 years and I didn't use it nearly enough. I'll still try and go to my old library every now and then, but I'm gonna get used to my new library, I promise. And I do want to do this again next year, and my idea for next year is that I would get a different one of my friends, one of my booktube friends, every month to send me a little cheeky video message with a reading challenge, with a prompt that I'm not allowed to know about until the day I go to the library, and have a different booktube friend every month and not know what they're giving me. I feel like that could be pretty fun for 2025. Let me know if there's anything else you think I can do to improve on like the library challenge in 2025. Anything you would like to see more of or less of, or anything. Any improvements, any feedback would be so appreciated. I'm so thankful that you stuck around for me for this entire library challenge this year. I appreciate you all so much. There were the highs and the lows, and there have actually been a few lows. I mean, every single episode there was something. Weird to think I started this challenge off in my old house, and now I'm in a completely new house. We just went on a journey. this year, and I feel like going through the library challenge has kind of helped make that journey a little bit more linear and not as crazy and chaotic as it has been in my head. So I do hope you enjoyed the 2024 series of the library challenge. So that is the end of episode 3. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to leave this video a like if you enjoyed and subscribe if you haven't already. Leave all the comments down below. Let me know what you thought of the video. Let me know if you would have picked anything else for the prompts during my library challenge. Let me know if you have a favourite moment from the series, or if you just want to chat to me about anything and everything, then please do it in the comments. I would love to talk to you. I want to give a huge thank you to my patrons for supporting my channel. If you'd like to join my Patreon, then the link is in the description box. But yeah, I hope I will see you in the next video. Bye. And my baby say bye bye as well, don't you? Oh, I love you both so much. Yes, I do.